Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Hey, you know what? This text for today is fascinating. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. And again, in the guide, uh, above on Facebook, below on YouTube, getting that. And it's talking about the connection between our financial resources and our faith convictions. I'm not going to spell out how they are connected. I'm going to let you do the heavy lifting on that one today. I mean, it's all in there if you just read it, but explore that. What does that mean? Because I think often the idea of money and God are separated. People hear that Jesus says you can't serve God and money, and you're like, well, guess I pick one or the other. Come on, we live in a world where there's both. Jesus talks about money all the time, and our financial resources, our possessions. I mean, this is, after love, money and possessions are the number 2 topic, most talked about topic by Jesus. Because we deal with it all the time. We live in a world where money is a necessity. But also, it's an opportunity. Being financially well, obviously, is good for our health. The number one stressor that Americans report is finances. And, obviously things happen that affect that are out of our control. But there are things that we can be doing to be financially well, just like we've talked about with physical, right? Where you can exercise to lose weight and help with that. We've talked about intellectual, stimulating our mind with various things, fighting off Alzheimer's, etc., etc. There are things we can do for financial wellnesses too. We can budget. The number, I listened to a podcast recently that talked about 3 tips that everyone can do for their financial well-being, essentially. I'll change the words a little bit. But it was funny because the 3 things, they all sounded really simple. And yet, they can make a huge difference. One, they talked about doing this is going to sound terrible, an audit, but just looking at your expenses. They said that if you look and track, most people don't track, especially with credit cards now, but we don't track our expenses. It's easier to let them get away. I try to track our expenses, and I think it's been really helpful for us. But it's good to be able to see, where's my money going? Because they listed the number one thing that Americans, maybe not so much with COVID happening, but the number one thing that Americans regret when looking at this is, wow, I ate out and drank out a lot. Just shaving that off, I can pay for a vacation. Another thing is, they told us to look at was spending on certain utilities, updating deals and such. Like for us recently, I looked at we have our cell phone carrier. I looked at the plans, thinking they hadn't changed, and actually saved some money. And it took me 5 minutes. And it's going to help my financial well-being. It's more than just saving money, of course. Financial well-being, again, is an opportunity. God talks about giving generously. God gives generously to us through Jesus Christ, and in so many ways, and these blessings in our lives. And money, our resources, is one of the ways that we can give back. God has given us everything we have. The biblical tithes, what people talk about, well, I think tithing is more difficult today than when it was instituted. So I view giving as we give and we strive to give more over time. In our household, we try to increase our giving every year, maybe a percentage point or so, half percentage, depending on what's happening and budgeting, etc. But how can we be generous with what we are able to give? Are there small sacrifices that we can make? I said in that sermon a couple weeks ago that, if I cut a couple of those nice bottles of beer, I can give to help someone get free from addiction. I mean, come on, which is more important, right? This is financial well-being gives us so much opportunity. The giving feels good for a reason. We're designed to give. God made us this way. So, I give you this opportunity to see financial well-being not as this have to, should, ought to, all these things. I don't want you to be shamed. I want you to be free, to be liberated, to have a tip from God to be able to live life abundantly. So, along with the coffee this week, we're talking about these institutions that we can support. How can our financial well-being be connected to that? Because our faith is inherently connected to what we have been given. Vocations, finances, our bodies, all these things God has given us that we've been talking about, and are being able to give back financially are just like the rest. So, I'll see you tomorrow.